Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our regular Swings and Roundabouts webinar today is on how to sell yourself effectively, and we're going to hear all about the power of personal branding. If you haven't met me before, my name is Trinity James, and I'm really happy to be hosting this session here. It's part of our ongoing commitment at Business Station to really help business owners grow and position themselves for success in today's market. And part of that, standing out is essential. So your personal brand, what we're going to be talking about tonight, it really is the key to unlocking new opportunities, establishing credibility, and just achieving success in your small business. So what we're going to be chatting about with you guys over the next half an hour is some strategies for effectively selling yourself by building a powerful personal brand. We're going to look at how to align your brand with your strengths. We're going to chat a little bit about leveraging digital tools, and also talk a little bit about networking strategically to position yourself as a leader in your industry. And I'm so excited to introduce our special guest for today, Rebecca. So Rebecca is a business owner. She's a digital consultant and she's a life coach as well. And she's one of our business coaches here at Business Station. She's got over 12 years of experience in business development and sales, and she has helped professionals and businesses across various sectors strengthen their brand and client relationships. And what I love about Rebecca is that she does really have a unique practical approach to personal branding, and she's going to share some really good real world examples with us tonight as well. And yeah, welcome, Rebecca. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much. And hello, everyone.
And just to start off, could you share a little bit, Rebecca, about your background and how you became so passionate about personal branding?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm a digital consultant and also coach, and I have the 12 years sales and business development experience across 4 different industries. But my personal branding journey started when I started in sales, because the sales industry and the business industry does have some similarities there. When you're a salesperson, you are essentially building your personal brand in order to sell your product or service for the company that you're representing. So I learned very early on that how to build my relationships and build my own brand was the way that I was going to succeed as a sales professional. So that's when it started for me. And then obviously, as I progressed into being a business owner, I've continued the personal brand journey and the sales journey because I absolutely know how important that is. And everybody focuses a lot online about your business brand, but you forget about your personal brand. And I think that is really unrepresented and a really key to being successful in business.
Amazing. Yeah, that does make so much sense. I think a lot of people hear the term personal brand, but we're not exactly sure what it means. Like we see that thrown around on LinkedIn all the time at the moment. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you would define personal branding, and just, yeah, if you could expand a little bit more on what you're saying about why it's so important in business.
Like you said, perceive, which is what I was going to say. So obviously, perceiving who you actually truly are is really essentially what personal branding is, but obviously I'll expand on that as well. So communicating your brand, showcasing the values. Social media is obviously a really good way to do that, and obviously your networking groups and networking in person, which I know that we're going to discuss a little bit later on, and we'll touch on that. So your online presence. Us that are obviously business to business, LinkedIn is the key place to do that. Other social media channels, obviously your website is really underutilized. That's obviously building your personal brand and business brand. You obviously want to build your reputation as well. So essentially personal branding is building your reputation, your credibility in order to stand out from your competitors or stand out in your industry as well. And probably increased visibility is a challenge for some business owners, but having that visibility really helps you bring more customers on board, sell yourself, sell your product, sell your service, depending on what that is. And yeah, the networking and connections, I think that's all. There's probably so many of those, but that's just a few.
Amazing. And what would you say some of the major misconceptions people have about personal branding, and particularly in small business?
I think that some people think that it is self-promotion, but it isn't. In business, we have to sell ourselves anyway, and it's all part of being a business owner. But I think that it's been, well, people say influencers, personal branding, but it's all about stepping up and being authentically who you are. And essentially, that is your personal brand. So, who you are as an individual outside of business should really cross over to show who you are in business too. It shouldn't be two different people. So, that's where I think that sits.
Oh, yes, that does make a lot of sense. Look, so I know that a key part of personal branding really is understanding that and what makes you unique. How would you advise people to go about understanding their strengths, their value proposition, like what makes them unique?
Okay, let me just think about this. What makes you unique is you want to start to think about who you are. So, why did you start a business? What's the reason behind that? And what's the problem that you're solving your clients? So, that is really important. Your skill set. Obviously, you started a business for a reason. So, why did you start a business? What's the reasons behind that? And how do you stand out from others in your industry? So, that's really obviously important. And obviously what you're not good at, you obviously, as a small business owner, usually we wear a lot of hats, but eventually the areas that you're not good at, you want to outsource it and have others come into your business and help. So you really can be in the space of where that you're really comfortable and that you love. And also ask customers. I think this is really unutilized. Ask your existing customers, how do they enjoy working with you? What's the benefits? And you as an individual, if they leave you a testimonial, and especially in small business, obviously we are a lot closer to our customers because we are the one that is dealing with them. So ask questions to them, and that way you can see where your strengths are and obviously create a value proposition as well.
I love that idea of reaching out to your existing clients and customers and getting their feedback because you're right, that outside perspective is everything. Do you have any particular exercises or strategies that you recommend for identifying your kind of key strengths that you want to portray in your personal brand?
Sure. Mind mapping, I think, is really awesome. So you could do a mind map. It could be, depends on what sort of person you are. It could be visual, as in you've got a piece of paper and you do that. Or it could be in a way that you just want to do that online. There's a lot of great digital tools that you can use for a mind mapping or mapping something out. Journaling is a great one. If you do like writing and journaling, you could do that obviously in a digital way, or you could do that yourself. And obviously, you can document this. And yeah, I think they're the two tools that I use, but it just depends on what works for you as an individual.
Rebecca, so could you share a couple of examples now of someone who really did make a significant impact in their small business by defining their personal brand and what that actually looks like in real life?
Yeah, so obviously I won't use names because I don't want to disclose who I'm talking about, but there is somebody in my network that did this so amazingly. So he was still in a full-time role at the time and he was growing his business as a side hustle essentially.
Mm.
And he did have a really good network, but he had a network more in his own sector more than anything else. But what he did, he's an excellent salesperson, by the way, so really knows how to sell. He crafted a really amazing business. So he went out, obviously met people, grew his network from scratch in more in the business community. And he did that with real authenticity and really just being there to be of service and to really help people. And he has an amazing, thriving business now. But he started from scratch, so he didn't let that deter him. He just went out, and I think that's a misconception in sales and personal branding. It's building the relationships, it's building the trust and rapport. And then you are obviously engaging with customers and building that from there. So I think he did that really well. So without giving too much away, that would be one that I would say. And obviously through business networks, I have seen many that have done a really great job at this as well.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, you're right. Like the power of in-person connection and just building those relationships and standing out for the right things is undeniable. Um,
Absolutely.
But of course, like today, like we're all glued to our phones, and we know that your online presence often speaks before you do. So, what would you recommend as some essential digital tools that small business owners should be using to build their personal brand online as well?
Sure. Obviously, social media is where it's at if we're talking about online and things like today, like we're on a webinar. So this is obviously another really great tool you could use in your business if you're looking to reach more customers. Obviously, we're using Zoom tonight, but there's plenty of other webinar platforms that you could use. So I think we could talk about that. And then obviously, let's talk about LinkedIn, just because I know we've probably got a mix here between business to business and business to customer. But if we focus on the business to business aspect, which I know a lot of customers and potential customers and people listening tonight are focused on, LinkedIn's where it's at. So building those relationships, building those connections. And I did hear recently how much LinkedIn is prioritizing videos. So this is probably a really great tool to start doing videos, and it can be as simple as a quick tip, it could be an event you went to, but really just add value to your network. So speaking of digital tools, I use a web platform or web app called Restream, and that's what I use to do my videos. It's really easy. You can use it on your iPhone. There's actually plenty of others around, but I found Restream was a really good tool, and it's a little bit cheaper than some of the others, but still has all of the features. So I would recommend looking for a video aspect there, which is just a really good tool to have. Canva, we cannot forget about Canva. Obviously, that is your brand, but you can obviously utilize that to build your content, build your graphics, and then bring in your personal brand within that as well. So great tool. Canva, I just think, is incredible, and everybody should be using it if they don't obviously have somebody doing their digital part for them. And like I mentioned earlier, use your website as well. You've got your website. It's a great tool to build your business brand and personal brand. It can be through blogging, it can be through videos. How you connect with your audience and potential customers is really key. And there would be the main ones that I would use. There's plenty more, but they're the ones personally I see value in.
They're really good tips. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned LinkedIn quite a bit, yeah, which is fantastic. What would you say some of the biggest mistakes people are making on LinkedIn at the moment when they're trying to just establish their personal brand?
I do see very scattered with some people. So I understand as small business owners, often we are wearing more than one hat. And I totally get that, why we're building our business and we are trying to wear a couple of hats. It is sometimes can be, we might be promoting something in our own business, then somebody else we're a contract for. So I get that it can get a bit messy for some of us, but what I think is important is try to be as consistent as possible. So it's going back to basics, and that's really your marketing, looking at who's your ideal customer, what's the messaging, what are you trying to get out into the world, your service product, how do you help, the value you can offer. So going back to those basics and obviously building your content around those areas and keeping that consistency through that. Me personally, I use videos more than anything at the moment. I need to record another one, but it just is the way I connect, but work with what's the best for you, I think, and do the best you can. I think LinkedIn's about building connections first, and then it's not selling, it's building those connections and then taking that offline to talk about sales conversations. So be focused on adding value first and then building whatever that is outside of that. So I think that's a really important way.
Amazing. Yeah, focus on connection first.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we've been speaking a little bit about creating these videos. Could you share like a little bit more about how important content creation is specifically around your personal branding and what types of content we should be focusing on?
We're talking about videos at the moment. Obviously, videos I think is really important. And I get that might not be for everybody because some people hate videos or it's not for them. It took me a little while to get used to that myself. I challenged myself to put myself out there. So I understand there's some mindset shifts around that. If video is not quite for you yet, look at mixing up your social media and medium. So it could be written content, it could be photos to an event you went, it could be a collaboration you're doing with a client, it could be testimonials. There is so many things that you could share. to still build your business personal brand. And as you can see, when we're talking about this, they are quite intertwined here. So anybody's listening, yes, we are talking about both here, which because they do go hand in hand. So really mixing that up, I think, is really important. So it's interesting, it's engaging, and obviously we're wanting to take those conversations outside of LinkedIn if that is the right fit.
And what about the regularity of posting as well? Like, how important is the consistency around that?
It's really important. I have to admit, sometimes I'm not the best at this too. So I will admit consistency is key. The experts, and I'm not a social media expert, do say 3 times a week is probably the optimum posting. But I think if you can just get one really good post going, video a week, and that's where you start, then that's better than nothing. So start with where you're at, and then eventually when you're able to maybe get help in or somebody to help support create your post for you, whatever that is in your business, obviously you can ramp that up depending on if you are more of an online or a face-to-face person too. So I think it's you've got to have the online consistency, but some people prefer the more offline and in person. So it's balancing that and working with where you're at.
That's really good advice. And that's a perfect segue actually for the next thing that I want to talk about now, because yes, we've covered quite a bit online, but we all know that building a personal brand isn't just about your videos and what you say online. It's really also about, how you're positioning yourself in your industry. So I'd love to hear from you some of the, most practical ways that people can just build that credibility and network efficiently and build connections there.
So I think it doesn't really matter where you are in your business. You could be brand new, you could be a seasoned pro, you've been in business for a while. What I think I did myself, and that's when I was in a sales career and started my business a while back. I actually tried lots of different networking groups. So I found that some worked for me, some didn't work for me. Maybe it was the timing, maybe it was the people in the room. So it's actually just going out and trying to find the best fit for you, as in yourself, what you fit in, and also for your business. So are there potential networks around you, collaborations, maybe potential clients? Not the reason why you're going there, but you want to know that you're in the right sort of area and place. So go out and try them in person. Obviously, we do have some online options as well. So that's how I would do. And then the people that you're meeting at these groups, building a connection, building rapport, connecting on LinkedIn. And I think the power in the networks as well is taking that conversation further as well. So one-to-one coffee catch-ups, Zoom catch-ups, whatever that is really handy if you're able to obviously go in person, because I know there might be a few remote or regional people here. So I know that's a little bit more of a challenge, but you make the best with what you have, I think. So that's really important. Find what works for you.
Yep, and just start putting yourself out there. What about someone who is introverted or they're new to an industry? How would you suggest that they get started networking more effectively?
I think you're never going to be fully ready. The very first time, it is daunting, it is scary, and I think it's just putting yourself out there and just doing it is the best way, because if you procrastinate on it, you just won't get there. So I found just do it. Or if you know somebody already in business, see if you can tag along with them. They can invite you so you're not walking into that room alone. That's another really good tip as well, just so you've got support for the very first time or the second time, and just to allow you to ease into that, and obviously to learn how networking works, because all the different groups work so differently as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that idea, actually, seeing if you can be invited by somebody so you're not just showing up on your own. That's fantastic. What would you say, are there any really underrated strategies for positioning yourself as an expert in your field when you do turn up to these events?
I think don't be afraid to provide value. So if you do manage to have these one-to-one conversations, or some of them have a round table, the ones I've been to in the past, where you can share ideas and share what's happening in your business and each other's business. So I think don't be afraid to put your hand up and add value if you do know the answer, or you've experienced something like that in your own business or your own life. I think it's great if you could say, this was what happened to me, and this is obviously my view but I'd like to tell you a little bit about this so I can potentially help you, or maybe it's just something, a little tip there that might help somebody. So just come from being of value rather than focusing on making a sale, because you can feel that. So I think it's really important to come from adding value, to be of service first, and then obviously relationships and sales comes from that later or soon, you never know.
Absolutely. Yep. So it's about that mindset shift where you're coming from a place of service. And actually, this leads into the next thing that I wanted to talk about with you, and that's that buzzword, authenticity. Like, we're all talking about how important an authentic personal brand is. And I think it's become this thing that everybody says, but nobody quite knows what it looks like on the ground. But we do know that it's a crucial part of it. So how, as small business owners, can we ensure that our personal brand is authentic while also like being strategic?
I think it's, first of all, I found in business and also when I was in sales too, some people are scared to be themselves. And because sometimes, especially when you very first start a business, you think I have to be a certain way. Absolutely not. Being yourself, being maybe a bit quirky like I am sometimes, is actually a benefit, because I'm real and I have real conversations and I show up as me. And I think that is super underrated. That is how you build a really strong personal brand. So be you for a start. And the more you show up and be who you are, the better your personal brand would be. So it's a simple answer, really. And even becoming comfortable with that, or you're still learning, that's okay. Just try and be as real as possible. And in business, some people will think you're amazing, and some you're not for everybody. And I think it's remembering that, and the tribe and the people around you, the networks around you, will be the right networks if you show up and be yourself.
Amazing. And I think that is really good advice. You're not going to be for everybody. You're not a jar of Nutella. You never going to please everyone.
Exactly.
But what would you say some of the major signs are that a personal brand really lacks authenticity?
I think it's more like if people are not being real, or they're trying to be a certain way, or
Mm.
sometimes, and it's probably not so relevant here, but when you are working for a business or you may be contracting to a business, it's also not losing who you are in that. That's obviously a really important thing as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think how to answer this one. It's a big question.
Yeah, it is. I think that we just as humans have a radar for when people aren't being authentic. And I think that we pick up
It
on that
is.
quite quickly and intuitively.
Yeah, and I just, like I said, you're not going to be for everybody. Just be you, just be real, and yeah, just be authentic. And everything's not going to always be perfect in business. And just remember that whether you're out networking, whether you're talking to a potential client and doing a discovery with them, it's just try to be who you are across all avenues and try not to be anybody but yourself. I think that is the best way, because that's how you build trust, that's how you build rapport, and people are buying from you rather than your business brand. They're buying from you as an individual because they like you, and then they obviously like what you have to offer, and you can solve their problems, obviously, but they go really hand in hand.
Amazing. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense actually. So when we are like building up that trust and building up that rapport, what would your best tip be for how we can stay consistent with personal branding across all these different platforms, online, in person, and the interactions that we have there?
I think it's going back to that foundation and knowing like who you are, which we talked a little bit about earlier, and then who your business brand is and how you help people and show up. So keeping that consistent, whether you're in person and online, and be who you are. So I think that is just key. And yeah, and obviously changes as you grow in your business too. So don't be so stuck on something to say, I have to be a certain way. Your business and you will grow with your business too. So that's okay for that to change as well. So I can't iterate how important that foundational piece is for yourself, but also knowing exactly your customers, their needs, their challenges. And now we're talking a bit about sales, but it's just really important. It's for your branding, your messaging, and also when you're talking about to people, when you're showing up in person or showing up online, building your brand, but obviously building that trust and rapport, like we've said a few times, but I can't iterate how important that is.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the strategic part of networking comes in, and the strategic part of your authentic personal brand. As
Yeah.
we're wrapping up, guys, feel free to drop any questions for Rebecca in the chat. But Rebecca, thank you so much for being here tonight. Your insights are always incredible. Obviously, you've seen this in a few different industries and you've been working in this field for a long time. It's really clear that you're talking about, and that personal branding, it isn't just about visibility, it's about building that rapport, that credibility, authenticity, and well, having impact, like helping people, I think is what it really comes down to from what you've said. And that was a really great takeaway.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you so much. But before we wrap up, I want to remind everybody that at Business Station, we do offer a free initial business coaching session to help you take what you've learned and apply it directly to your business. Whether you're looking to build your personal brand, improve your LinkedIn presence, or maybe you're looking to expand your professional network, we're here to help with that. I'm just dropping a link in the chat right now where you can click through and you can book your first session with Rebecca for free. And as part of that, she can share how you can get further support. But you can start with that initial session, no obligation. And I'll pop that in the chat now and encourage everyone to take us up on that. One moment. And Rebecca, there's just a question there in the chat. How do you deal with the imposter syndrome feeling that sometimes creeps in?
Sure, that's a really good one. I
Mm.
don't think that ever fully goes away, unfortunately, because every new step that you take, it will come up again and again. So I'd love to say that it would go away. It doesn't, but I think it's spending that time to reflect on that. So why is that coming up? So this is what I personally do. Obviously, this is maybe not for everybody. So reflecting, why is this coming up? Is something triggering me, or is it because I'm taking that next step in my business? And do it anyway. I think it's not pushing yourself that you're uncomfortable, but taking that little bit of uncomfortable step to do something. Because I remember when I did the video online for the first time, I was so scared. It was not perfect. I still posted it. When I actually did it, I was like, wow, it's not perfect, it's out there. So sometimes it's actually just doing the thing or breaking it up to do just one little thing towards that step. So you don't overwhelm yourself, because you obviously don't want to do that, because then you freeze and then you stop. So you know where you're at and obviously what works for you. So take a small step today, or just go out and do it, depending on your personality.
I love that. Just
I
go and
wish
do
I could
it.
say it would go away, but it won't, unfortunately.
That's fantastic. I've got another question coming through. Would you have any tips for an existing business which has changed location? So if we're moving north of the river to south, yes, it's very different. You've changed teams. Look out. How do we make that transition?
So around the personal branding side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you're changing locations, how would you
Yeah.
communicate that through your personal brand?
Obviously, social media is a really good way. You'd want to let everybody know. If you've got a newsletter, you'd be sending that out to everybody, a newsletter, let them know the new location. Obviously, if you're a bricks and mortar business, you want to get people in to have a look. So obviously, depending on your business. So I would be using socials, your newsletter, any way that you currently communicate with your current customers. So utilizing that. Obviously, a video is always great if you feel comfortable doing that, just to get people. It depends if you are an office space, you've got people coming in, or you're more of a bricks and mortar retail environment. Obviously, it depends on your particular circumstances. So I can't answer that not knowing your industry, but I just think just really get the word out and to share. Maybe there's a journey and reason why you've changed locations. Share that story. Storytelling is a really underrated area as well to build that trust and rapport and personal brand and business brand. So share your story. Maybe there's a new building or you've done a new fit out. Use that. I think it's just really interesting. People love to know stories and the reasons why. I know I do.
That's a really good tip, and kind of take them on the journey with you. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. One more question here. Beck, have we got a recommendation for an easy video editor that we can use for video blogs?
I personally don't use one because I just do mine on Redstream. So I keep it really simple just because it's just in my digital business, it's just me. I'm a consultant. So I'm very time poor. So I just do the simplest as possible, use Redstream to do mine. But I've heard Binmito, or however you say that. I'm not sure how you say that. I know that's a pretty good video editor, and there is quite a lot of apps you can use on your iPhone, but I can't recommend just because I haven't personally used anything myself.
Absolutely. At Business Station, I utilize a program called Descript, DE Script. You can get that, as a subscription. It's just a monthly thing you can sign up for when you use it and get rid of it when you don't. But that has been a game changer for us, being able to edit our longer form videos and also chop it up into like sound bites for social media with the highlights and the key takeaways. So I definitely recommend using that one, especially if you're looking to start. And just one more question before we let you go back. What about for a mobile business? How would you recommend you network there?
It just depends. If you're a mobile business, but you can still go to in-person events, I'm assuming. Obviously,
Yes.
that's not going to stop you. I know real estate agents that own their own business and they are still in those business networks, accountants. There's many businesses that might be home office based or in and out visiting clients, depending on your work. So I think it's just finding in-person events that work for you. It could be morning events, night events. So I'd just be still making that work. I understand if you're seeing lots of clients, it might be a bit challenging to say every Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'm going networking. I understand that is difficult for some. So I would schedule time in your calendar where you can and make that a priority. So we always say in business, we have the time where we're working in the business and we have the time where we're working on the business. So maybe scheduling those on the business times where you can go out and do the business networking and include that in that. So that would be the best thing that I would recommend. I have on a Friday that I work on my business time frame every single week, because otherwise you just won't do it. And it's really important. Otherwise, it's how you grow.
That's it. If you don't schedule it, it won't happen.
Exactly.
It's not real until it's in the calendar.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Rebecca, again. Really appreciate your expertise. Guys, if you have any more questions, make sure you take us up on that offer for an initial free coaching session. The link is in the chat, and connect with us on LinkedIn. And we'd love to continue to support you to grow your business. But thank you again, Rebecca. It was wonderful to have you here. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll be sending the recording around shortly. And have a wonderful night. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. We'll speak to you again soon.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.